The brain in a vat idea is an actual school of philosophy. It contends that our experiences might truly be the simulated output of a mad scientist with our brains, just our brains, linked up to a computer, challenging our most fundamental beliefs about reality and consciousness. Do we really need to go all sci-fi to be brain-free, though? Do your brain and body require each other? This is the incredible question we're addressing today. Do you require answers to the important queries? Are you a fervent inquirer? So why not join Z to see more videos like this one? And ring the bell for more inspiring material. The mind-body issue has been a contentious topic for ages. The idea that the body and mind are inseparable parts of the same thing that depend on each other to survive was first put out by ancient thinkers like Parmenides of Elea. Most philosophers for centuries held to what became known as the monism perspective. The opposite side of the debate didn't gain popularity until René Descartes promoted mind-body dualism in the early 1600s. According to Descartes, the mind and body are actually two very different things with quite distinct natures, and that both might be able to survive independently of one another. In the present, both sides continue to have their adherents. However, as technology and medical research have advanced, we have come closer to determining if a physical brain may in fact survive without a body. First, what is the most essential requirement for a brain to truly survive? The brain is incredibly simple in its requirements for survival, despite being by far the most complex organ in our bodies and by some metrics the most complex structure in the cosmos. In most animals, it only truly needs two things to function: glucose and oxygen. When a brain is deprived of oxygen, nerve impulses malfunction, messages are not sent, and the cells quickly perish until the entire system is irrevocably damaged. Our brain simply uses glucose, sometimes known as sugar, to provide the energy it needs to operate effectively. So, if these fundamental conditions are met, it would appear that a brain should be able to live without a whole body. Unfortunately, there is no practical way to be certain about that. Brains cannot particularly communicate when they are separated from their bodies, notwithstanding all the ethical issues involved in testing this theory. This means that even if that scenario was reproduced, it would be difficult for scientists to determine whether a brain was indeed still alive or cognizant as usual, without a body. There are many unanswered questions since medical science isn't yet developed enough to reattach brains to spinal cords or to completely understand the mind of a brain beyond hazy electrical activity. While it's challenging to determine whether a brain can function without a body, we can test to discover whether the opposite is true. Do brains help bodies survive? Given that it actually occurs in nature, this topic is much simpler to examine. Despite being incredibly basic, single-celled creatures like bacteria are nonetheless able to exist and live. Despite not having brains, they nevertheless have DNA that contains instructions on how to survive. There are also other larger species with a comparable design, such as sponges, which are completely nerveless. So, sponges are entirely made of the human body. This appears to go against evolution in certain ways, as most animals have evolved brains to help them get better and adapt. Sponge, however, seems to have done the reverse. Instead, it's possible that they evolved to fully lose their brains since they didn't require them. Sponges continue to eat and breathe, but they effectively rely on the water in their environment to do so. Therefore, they are very effective. The most sophisticated non-human living organisms, though, may be mushrooms. Again, fungus have no brains whatsoever, but some people nevertheless believe that they are clever, if not sentient, beings. Various mushrooms have been seen to possess at least a short-term memory. Additionally, it has been demonstrated that they are capable of decision-making, self-directed learning, and gentle responses to environmental cues. Evidently, even without the cognitive center, cognitive function exists. Although fungi do not think in the conventional sense, they do take environmental conditions into account and grow as a result. So they appear to challenge our preconceived notions of intelligence. Additionally, there is a rising case for including mushrooms in our explanation of consciousness on a larger scale. Therefore, in theory, brains just require oxygen and glucose. Additionally, bodies do not always require brains in the real world. But in a broader sense, it is evident that it can be quite challenging to discern between the body and the brain. The physical makeup of an animal, which clearly includes its organs, is referred to as its body. There are also animals without bodies, though there are some without brains. Therefore, a brain is always a component of a body, if one exists. On the other hand, there are also certain species that have evolved several brains in order to survive, each having a unique function and acting independently of the others. For instance, an octopus has 9 brains, including one within its head and one for each of its arms, each of which has its own neurons. That is why an octopus's arms move and behave as though they have a mind of their own, because they do. But in this instance, the body that houses the extra brains is still necessary. Nevertheless, and despite the challenges already described, technology has advanced to the point where it appears to be possible to maintain brains in a truly living state without the body that once contained them. Researchers maintained pig brains alive for up to 36 hours after they had been removed from the pigs' bodies in a study that was published in 2019. It was demonstrated that at least some of the basic brain processes were maintained by using a system called BrainX, which mimics the blood flow and nutrient delivery of a body. Examples of these functions include the consumption of sugar and the creation of carbon dioxide. Again, it's difficult to determine whether they were truly still alive in the fullest meaning of the word without the bodies to properly convey what the brains were doing. Nevertheless, the isolated brain approach has evolved to refer to the concept of artificially maintaining a brain's life through technology. And some people do consider it to be the way things will go. The idea is that a brain may possibly be made to continue functioning by creating increasingly complex technologies that exactly imitate the surroundings of an active body. Although we haven't yet noticed it in nature, it might appear in industry shortly. Whether such ostensible advances could ever be applied to human brains is still uncertain. No brain can currently be kept alive after being removed from a body forever. Although the pig brain study broke records, the transition to human testing is probably still a ways off. Of course, there are also some very important ethical questions to think about. Could life without a body be represented by a brain? Should a being still be able to control another being's brain after their body has died? What course do you think science should go in this situation? Please share with us in the comments. But ultimately, there are numerous ways to respond to this topic. Can the physical brain endure in the absence of a body? In a certain sense, yeah. Is a brain always required inside of a body? No, it doesn't, as evidenced by nature. Does the brain ever require a body to do anything other than keep running in that survival mode? Yes, it appears to. And finally, does this suggest that headless people might actually exist in the future? At that point, science fiction becomes more pure, however the idea of a brain in a vat can still exist. How do you feel? Do you think we missed anything? Please share your thoughts in the comments, check out the other videos, subscribe, and ring the bell to receive notifications of our newest stuff.